Oh, there he is. There he is. There he is. Hello everyone. Back out on the Crawdad on a nice fall morning. It's early October when this was filmed. Got some good cloud cover. Not too much wind. And we have a front coming in. There's a hurricane around Bermuda right now. Hurricane Philippe. It's making its way up the coast. And we're just seeing the kind of the outer bands of that are affecting us. And then tomorrow it's supposed to rain. So this is prefrontal conditions, which is kind of ideal. And the only thing that's missing is I'd like to have a little bit more wind. Because without the wind, the fish are they're just very picky and they don't make a lot of mistakes. They get a good look at the bait and it's harder to fool them. So just to start out, I'm going to be throwing a Reactions Innovation Skinny Dipper over a deep weed flat. And I'm using the rigging that I outlined in a previous video. I'll put a link in the video description to that video in case you're interested. But basically it's a harness system for a stinger treble in the belly. And I've got that in a sungill color. So it sort of looks like a bluegill, sort of looks like a perch. And I don't have any electronics on the boat, so I'm fan casting this weed flat, trying to come up with a fish. And I motored over to a place with a little bit of wind. It's just a little bit of a ripple, but it beats no wind. And there's the first fish. It's not a giant, but it's a start. That skinny dipper is a good lure to use in the fall, and I also like it early summer too. But it's great for covering water. Fish seem to eat it. Sometimes if there's not enough wind for a spinnerbait or a chatterbait, they still eat it. And you can cover a lot of water, work it fast. Yeah, there's a good look at it. Basically, I just have a couple colors in that bait. I've got kind of herring colors. One of them's called Smoke Grape, and the other is called Lab Rat. And then the other two colors are kind of panfish imitations. That Sungill color, and the other one's like a Magic Cross Swirl, kind of a green pumpkin blue. And between those four colors, that pretty much covers what I want it to fish for. If I could only have one, oh geez, that's tough. Maybe something basic like a green pumpkin, that would cover most things. So I fished around with that skinny dipper for a while. And then the wind just completely died out on me. And my go-to when that happens is the BFS rod with a Super Fluke Junior. And since it's cloudy, I'm using the albino color. And this little rod has saved my bacon so many times this year. Seems like as soon as I pick it up, I start getting some action, even if it's not big fish, but I get swirls, I get fish tugging the tail on the Super Fluke Junior. And this is after, I don't know, an hour of casting the skinny dipper and not having much to show for it. That little BFS setup's like magic. I suppose I should throw out some other BFS lures, but I don't know. I keep coming back to the Super Fluke Junior just because I seem to get fish on it. Now that one is one of the rare fish that spit the hook. And yeah, it happens. Once I get them pinned though, that little rod just kind of folds over, and I don't lose too many. But I don't know if he just didn't have the hook real well, or I should have set harder, or what. They were being very fussy today though. They weren't eating the baits really well until the wind picked up, which happened a little bit later. But before that wind picked up, they were doing a lot of slapping of the baits and not so much eating them. I mean, it's almost like they hit them with their mouth closed sometimes, just to... I don't know if you ever watch aquarium fish. Sometimes they'll bump each other just to get some fish out of their corner. It's almost like that. Like they just don't want that bait in their area. Not so much that they were trying to eat it. But that was more action than I had in a little while, so I'm going to stick with this Super Fluke Junior for a while. At least until the wind kicks back up. There's a lot of floating weeds in the water right now. That's for two reasons. It's because it's fall and the weeds are dying back and breaking off. And there's a fair amount of boat traffic, and just the boats running around, not right now, but during the day there's a good amount of ski boats and pontoon boats. And with the weeds dying back, just the boat traffic tends to rip up more of the weeds. And as a result, there's a lot of floating weeds around. So that makes it, an easy choice for me to fish something weedless like a fluke that I can fish through almost anything, any of this kind of sparse cover. But it would be a hassle, even throwing something like a buzzbait. Those floating weeds, they get caught in the prop of the buzzbait. Man, this little reel is giving me such a hard time this morning. But eventually I will get that sorted out. And eventually I will upgrade that reel. But for now, this is what I have for my BFS setup. The rod is a Jenko double down rod with a true moderate fast action. And it's a really nice rod. I like that rod. The reel, I feel like I'm going to upgrade. I'll just leave it at that. We had a warm front come through before the storm. It was almost like tropical air. I mean, it was 85, 87, which is unusual for New England in October. And the water temperatures actually spiked back up. They were dropping quite rapidly. And so I don't know if the fish know what to do. They were going into the fall transition, and then we got 2-3 days of really warm weather. The water temperature spiked. I think it has the fish a little off balance. They don't know if winter's coming or summer's back. So they were being a little difficult.
Oh, there's one.
But there's one I got a hook into. See how that rod just bows up? Makes it very hard for the fish to throw that hook once I set it in them. And because the drag's fairly light and the rod takes so much of the force, it's kind of hard to break them off too, unless they wrap you around like a log or something. And I got pretty light line on there. It's only 10-pound braid and 6-pound Yozuri hybrid as a leader. Now that, I said in an earlier video, that's more like 10-pound fluoro for other brands, for an expensive brand. But that stuff's about as strong as 10-pound fluoro, and yeah, it works pretty well. So this is a few casts later. Just missed one there. Yeah, without the wind, they tend to do a lot of that. That that short striking or just slapping at the bait. BFS gear seems to be the best solution for that, or I guess you could use light spinning too. But when all else fails, I pick up that BFS rod and I can convert a few more. They're still pretty fussy. There he is. There we go. There he is. That one feels a little I got better. A hook in that one. Get out of the weeds. He's right in the weeds. Come on. Ah, he's not that big. All right. Yeah, it's all right on the BFS. So the little ripple that was on the water is picking up. I've got a northeast wind. It's blowing into some offshore weeds and shoreline over there. So since I have the wind, or the beginnings of the wind, I picked up my 610 medium X Pride. It's a little light for jerk baits, but with a fine wire hook, it works great. And that one ate it as I was starting to reel in to make another cast. And to me, that's all about the wind. If I didn't have the wind, I probably wouldn't have caught that fish. He would have either swiped at it or turned away or not even charged it. But once that fluke started moving fast away from him, he put on the afterburners and grabbed it. Almost at the boat. Yeah, he's not bad. Not bad. Maybe 3 pounds or so. Alright, I've moved a little closer into shore where that wind's blowing in. And it's not much wind, it's just a little bit of a ripple at this point. But that's all I need. I just need a little bit of a ripple to break up the surface of the water. Water's pretty clear. You can see the weeds standing up right now. Once it gets a little colder, those will start dying back some more. And if you have that hook text posed into the fluke, it comes through that junk pretty well. Better than most lures. There's one. There's one. And that fine wire hook seems to set without too much pressure. Come here, you. Come here. So it all works out, and that's a great hard jerk bait rod too. So it's kind of been using that rod for a lot of different things: blade baits, soft jerk baits, hard jerk baits. You can fish topwater on it. That fluke's kind of trash now, but I'll see if I can glue them back together with Mend It later. But after that fish, I took the fluke off and saved it for later so I can repair it at home. Alright, I'm going to show you how I'm rigging the fluke. It's pretty standard rigging, but I'm using a 3/0 fine wire mustad grip pin hook. It's got that little keeper on the collar. Checking my line right there because I caught a couple fish by now and I was dragging them through the weeds, and I probably could have retied then, but I felt like, it's okay. I think if I was on some bigger fish, I would have retied. So to text pose it, you just pull a little bit of plastic and just skin hook it. Just cover that hook so it comes through the weeds. And that fine wire hook pops out without too much pressure. And I end up sticking most of the fish. Not all of them, especially if they're slapping at the baits. So this is a few casts later. Still fishing the offshore weeds. There he is. Hit it pretty hard. But that's the wrong kind. That's a little pickerel. Let's get him in the net. But what's interesting about him is that he still ate the fluke, and he has what felt like a full-size bluegill in his stomach. I got you. So he still went after the fluke. You can see it right there. Looks like a saucer in his belly. Looks like he's got a whole... I could feel it through his skin. Should have held him down a little lower. But yeah, they're greedy little things. I was happy not to get cut off or bitten that time. Now I'm going to check my line again after that pickerel. I'm running over the same spot. It's like that first inch after the knot. That seems to be the weakest link sometimes. And I decided I better retie. So I'm going to cut that first inch off. If you back the hook out first, it kind of saves the fluke. And I'm going to tie, well, this is a version of an improved clinch knot. So instead of going out a big loop on the side, you just make 2 passes through the hook eye. And it's a little better than a basic clinch. Still not a great knot. I'm going to add a little daub of super glue at the end. But my leader is getting a little short now, and instead of retying the whole leader, I'm using a knot that doesn't use up much line at all. So I don't know what to call it exactly, but it's sort of like a double line simple clinch, but then it's not a simple clinch anymore. And it's not truly a double line clinch because that's a different knot that's actually much, much better, and that's the knot I prefer. But it does use up a lot of line. So yeah. But this will work out fine. The other thing I noticed is my fluke's getting a little beat up. I want to save it for later. And the sun's coming out. And so it's partly sunny now. And I want that electric shad color. When it's partly sunny, partly cloudy, that's the color I like best. Still pretty translucent, but it's got some flake in it. And it could be a bluegill. It could be a herring. It could be a lot of different things. And before I get that hook all the way into the bait, I add just a little tiny bit of super glue to that knot. It's not the greatest knot, but it does save on line. Slip it into the bait. Line it up just as before. Try to come out dead center. And then I skin hook it. Just like that. Alright, that's good. Add a little bit of Procure herring scent. You could also use smelly jelly or whatever scent you like. Sometimes that seems to help. Especially if they're a little hesitant. The wind is helping me a lot, but I feel like If they're just slapping at it, the scent might get a few more fish in the boat. So I'm working my way down the bank, and you can see in the water there's clumps of standing weeds, and there's holes in the middle of those weeds. So it's not like a continuous patch of weeds, and I'm aiming for the holes where the fish can dart out and get that electric shad fluke. And it's working okay, mostly because I have the wind. He's okay, he's not a giant, but I was happy to catch him.
Okay, but that's all right.
So I kept going down the bank, fishing these offshore weeds. And I caught a few more small bass and pickerel, but it's really just more of the same. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll list all the gear in the video description so you can see what I was using. You know, all the exact models and lures and line and bait and all that good stuff, so that you can duplicate what I was doing today at your own lake, wherever you may live, and hopefully have some good success there too. So thanks again. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!